Modern as it might look, London used to be a living hell. What stands here today was not shaped by elegance or vision, but by collapse, fire, disease, invasion, and constant rebuilding.
This city has been emptied, burned, flooded, bombed, and rebuilt more times than most capitals ever faced once.
Using AI reconstruction, we strip London back to its physical layers, streets, buildings, and people, to show how survival, not beauty, drove its evolution. This is not a celebration, it's a reconstruction of how London endured. One after Rome when London is not a city.
We start with the withdrawal of Roman authority in the early 5th century, because this is when London stops functioning as a city.
When imperial administration collapses around AD 410, Londinium loses the system that maintained its roads, walls, ports, and markets.
Soldiers leave, officials disappear, tax collection ends. What remains is infrastructure without purpose.
Inside the Roman walls, built around AD 200, space empties out. Archaeological evidence shows long stretches of the city no longer maintained, with streets slowly filling with soil and debris. Large stone buildings near the former Forum and Basilica stand roofless. Tiles are missing. Masonry is reused elsewhere. By the mid-5th century, there are very few people living within the walled city. Only after this collapse do we look at the ground level. The camera moves along the line of the London Wall past Bishopsgate and toward Ludgate. The wall still stands, but no traffic flows through the gates. Inside, streets are uneven. Grass and dark soil cover what were once paved routes. Fire pits appear inside former civic buildings. Timber lean-tos press against Roman stone, not as homes, but as temporary shelter. Down at the Thames, the old waterfront no longer works as a port. Wharves are broken. Timber piles sit exposed in the mud. A few small boats land where they can, but there is no organized loading, no warehouses operating as a system. The river still moves, but the city around it does not. People move carefully and locally. Small groups pull stone from ruined walls. Roof tiles are stacked onto handcarts. Fires burn low. There are no markets, no crowd noise, no signs of long-distance trade. Animals wander through open ground where buildings once stood. This is not a transition period. It is a shutdown. London does not adapt here. It pauses. For nearly 2 centuries, the Roman city exists as a shell too large to function, too solid to disappear.
The next version of London will not grow from these streets. It will form elsewhere, outside the walls, closer to workable ground and open river access.
2 Londonwick London rebuilds by the river. Welcome to London in the early 7th century. By around AD 600, life has moved west of the old Roman walls to a new riverside town called Londonwich.
The walled city to the east is still quiet, but here, activity returns. Written records describe this place as a trading center reached by land and sea. Archaeology confirms steady building, work, and exchange. London comes back as a place that functions.
The shift from the previous era is clear. Inside, the Roman city space was empty, and systems had failed. Here, everything is built for use. The river decides the layout. Trade decides the rhythm. Follow the Strand, which now runs close to the Thames. The river sits nearer to the road than it does today. Its edge is strengthened with wood and wattle, forming simple embankments where boats can land. There are no large stone docks. Short ramps, posts, and flat banks do the job. The town spreads inland in narrow strips. Houses and workshops are timber-built and 1 story high. Roofs are thatched or covered with wooden shingles. Plots are fenced. Main paths are graveled. Smaller lanes are packed earth. There are no walls around the settlement. Work fills the space. Textile tools appear in large numbers. Bone and metal are worked in small workshops. Imported goods arrive from far away, including wine jars from the Rhine and amber from the Baltic. Trade is regular and organized. At the river edge, boats move in and out with the tide. Barrels are rolled on planks. Cloth is tied, weighed, and carried inland. Animals stand behind workshops. Smoke rises steadily from working hearths. This openness comes with risk. Lundenwic sits fully exposed along the river. In the 9th century, recorded Viking raids strike this shoreline. A town built for access becomes a target. London will adapt by moving once more. 3 London pulls back behind the walls. In the following centuries, London got much more different. By the mid to late 9th century, the open riverside town no longer works. Raids along the Thames turn trade routes into entry points. Records note repeated attacks, and by the 800s, security becomes the priority. The answer is physical and clear. London pulls activity back inside the old Roman walls and reshapes itself as a fortified town. This phase is known as Lundenburg. The change from the previous era is sharp. Lundenwic lived along the shore, wide open and easy to reach. Lundenburg closes in. Boundaries matter again. Control replaces access. Follow the movement east from the old Strand area toward the wall line. The stone circuit built centuries earlier is repaired and reused. Earth is piled at the base. Broken sections are patched. Ditches are cleared and deepened. Gates become narrow points where movement slows and is checked. The wall does not make the city rich. It makes it harder to enter. Inside the enclosure, the town tightens. Streets are firmer and straighter than before. Plots repeat in size. Timber buildings sit closer together. Space is used carefully. Everything inside the wall must earn its place. Outside the wall, ground stays quiet. Activity is drawn inward. The river is still vital, but it is no longer open. Access shifts to fixed landing points along the city waterfront. At Queenhithe, boats arrive at assigned edges. Goods move in lines, not clusters. Barrels are counted. Loads are checked. The river becomes a controlled gate, not a beach. People move with purpose. Messengers pass quickly through the streets. Work crews repair stone-cut timber and clear ditches. Guards hold fixed positions near gates and quays. Markets regroup inside the walls, smaller and more ordered than before.
This is London adapting under pressure. The town gives up easy reach for safety.
Trade continues, but on tighter terms. The city shrinks its footprint to protect what it has.
From now on, London grows with walls in mind. Expansion will return later. First comes control. Forstone takes over, Norman power reshapes London. In the late 11th century, London changes shape again. In 1066, William is crowned at Westminster Abbey. This act matters because it fixes London as the center of rule. Power is no longer distant. It is placed beside the city. Soon after, new building begins, and this time the material is different. Stone replaces timber at key points, not for comfort, but for control. By 1078, work starts on the White Tower, later known as the heart of the Tower of London. It rises near the river, facing both the city and the Thames. Built of thick stone, it is designed to last and to be seen. The message is simple, and physical authority is permanent. Around it, older wooden buildings look smaller and temporary. In 1087, a major fire damages much of the city, including Old St. Paul's. Rebuilding begins soon after. The new cathedral grows slowly over many decades. Its scale changes the skyline. Stone walls, tall arches, and long scaffolds mark a shift in ambition. London is no longer built just to function. It is built to endure. Later in 1176, construction begins on a stone London Bridge. This is the only fixed crossing of the Thames for miles. Once complete, it controls movement between north and south. Trade, travel, and supply are forced through one narrow point. Whoever controls the bridge controls the flow. Stone buildings now stand above timber roofs. Scaffolds crowd the air. Lime mortar is mixed in open yards. Blocks arrive by barge at the river edge. Carts grind along narrow roads toward building sites. Guards stand near gates and crossings. Clergy move through half-built spaces at St. Paul's. Workers sleep close to their tools. The streets remain tight and busy. Most homes are still wooden. But stone now sets the rules. It marks power fixes routes and reshapes movement. By the end of the 12th century, London is no longer just defended. It is organized around control, permanence, and scale. 5 bridge city London crowds trade in survival. By the early 13th century, London is no longer defined by walls or castles. It is defined by numbers. Around the year 1300, the city holds close to 80,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in Europe. Feeding and supplying this many people becomes the main task. London survives by pulling goods in from a wide area, reaching 40 to 60 miles into the countryside. Movement concentrates at fixed points. London Bridge becomes the main crossing of the Thames. Carts riders, pedestrians, and livestock all pass through the same narrow route. Traffic slows. Space is negotiated step by step. What crosses the bridge enters the city's market system. Along the river, the Thames quays work as a conveyor belt. Boats arrive with the tide. Grain, fish, fuel, and cloth are unloaded in order. Barrels are counted. Loads are passed quickly to porters and carts. The river is not a view. It is infrastructure. Inside the city streets, narrow as buildings grow outward. Timber houses push their upper floors over the road, a practice known as jettying. The ground level stays tight and dark. Signs hang above head height. Gutters run down the middle of lanes. Drainage is shallow. Foot traffic never stops. Markets organize the flow. Cheapside acts as the main street for trade, with food, cloth, and tools changing hands from morning to evening. Similar trades cluster together. Tools repeat from stall to stall. Measures and weights are checked in public view.
Control sits behind the scenes. Guilds, also known as livery companies, regulate who can sell and how goods are made.
The Weavers' Company, chartered in 1155, is one of the earliest. Quality matters because failure spreads fast in a dense city. Bad bread or short measure affects thousands. People adapt to pressure. Carts queue before dawn. Fishmongers work near the river. Bakers cluster close to fuel supply. Animals are kept close to workspaces. Waste builds up quickly and is pushed aside rather than removed.
London at this stage is loud, crowded, and tightly packed. The city works because everything moves on schedule. When supply slows, the streets feel it first.
6 plague-strained London crime control and stone shelter. Look closer at London in the middle of the 14th century. In 1348 and 1349, disease cuts through the city fast. Death removes workers, guards, and officials at the same time. Streets, gates, and markets are still there, yet fewer people are left to watch them. Crime rises where control thins. Theft follows absence. Houses stand unlocked after owners die. Workshops close, and tools sit idle. Goods move without records. Architecture shapes this behavior. London is dense and narrow. Timber houses lean over tight lanes. Upper floors block light. Corners hide movement. When night comes, sound travels farther than sight. Patrols are fewer. Watchposts are empty more often. The city's shape favors quick entry and quick escape. Near the city edge, emergency burial grounds change the use of open land. At East Smithfield, long trenches are cut in rows. The site is planned for speed. Carts arrive, unload, and leave. Clergy perform short rites. Soil covers bodies fast. Nearby roads carry steady traffic, not mourners. Procedure replaces ceremony. Stone structures become control points. Gates close earlier. Churches lock their doors between services. Storehouses near the river reinforce doors with extra beams. The Thames quays keep working, but under tighter watch. Goods arrive in smaller batches. Fewer hands unload them. Counting matters more than speed. Crime adapts. Petty theft grows first food cloth fuel. Later come break-ins at empty homes and shops. Disputes turn violent over wages and work. With labor scarce, employers argue. Workers move where pay is higher, ignoring old rules. Officials respond with postings and fines, but enforcement is uneven. Architecture also absorbs the shock. Timber buildings decay faster without repair. Roofs sag. Gutters clog. Stone churches and halls last longer and become meeting points, storage, and refuge. Their thick walls hold records, tools, and supplies that smaller buildings cannot protect. Markets shrink and shift. Stalls cluster near churches and gates where oversight is stronger. Dark lanes empty out. Routes shorten. People choose paths they can see and hear. London does not stop working. It tightens around stone gates and guarded streets. Crime does not disappear. It is redirected by walls, doors, and light. 7. Brick by rule. London rebuilds itself, 1666 and 1700. By the late 17th century, London is rebuilding itself through rules, measurements, and materials. After the fire of 1666, the medieval city does not return. What replaces it is planned, regulated, and repeated. This is London learning to control its own shape. The damage is clear across the city. Entire blocks are gone. Property lines are erased. Streets that once twisted between timber houses now sit open and bare. This emptiness creates a rare moment the city can redraw itself. Rebuilding begins under law. New rules require brick or stone, not timber. Overhanging upper floors are banned. House fronts must line up. Streets must be kept wider than before. Surveyors walk the ground with chains and rods marking straight lines where crooked lanes once ran. Owners argue over inches. Builders wait for decisions before laying foundations. Brick becomes the main unit of the city. Kilns burn outside the center. Stacks of uniform bricks line the streets. Mortar pits sit at every corner. Houses rise wall by wall, similar in height and shape. Roof lines level out. Fire stops jumping easily from one building to the next. Movement changes with the streets. Wider roads allow carts to pass without stopping. Sight lines improve. Smoke and light move more freely. Shops rebuild at ground level with clear fronts. Storage shifts upward or behind thick walls. The city becomes easier to read and easier to patrol. Major structures reset the skyline. At the site of St. Paul's, the old cathedral is cleared away. Foundations for a new stone church are set in 1675. Over decades, scaffolding climbs higher than nearby roofs. The dome becomes a fixed reference point. Builders, masons, and carriers move through the site daily. Stone arrives by river, then rolls inland on carts. Daily work defines this period. Carpenters frame roofs. Bricklayers repeat the same motions hundreds of times. Plaster dries. Streets fill with carts, lime dust, and noise. Inns reopen first, then shops, then homes. London does not rebuild quickly. It rebuilds deliberately. The result is a city with fewer surprises, clearer routes, and harder edges. From this point on, London grows with brick law and straight lines holding it together. 8 industrial London docks, smoke and the city below. 1800, 1875. Stand still and listen. London is no longer built by hand alone. By the early 19th century, the city shifts into an industrial system. Population rises fast. In 1801, London counts just over 1 million people. By 1851, it passes 2 million. Streets, housing, and supply lines strain under the load. The old city cannot cope without new structures both above and below ground. Trade drives the first change. In 1802, the West India docks open on the Isle of Dogs. These are not simple quays. They are enclosed dock basins with long brick warehouses, guarded gates, and fixed loading points. Storage becomes architecture. Goods no longer spill into the city at random. They are counted, stacked, and locked behind walls. Guards control entry. Cranes and hoists replace manual lifting. The river changes next. The Thames carries more waste than water. By the hot summer of 1858, the smell becomes unbearable. Government work stops. Windows are sealed. Action follows. From 1859 onward, new sewer tunnels are built under the city. Brick-lined passages carry waste away from streets and homes. New embankments hold roads, pipes, and sewers in one structure. Engineering moves underground. Transport follows the same path. On 10th January 1863, the first underground railway opens. Trenches are dug through existing streets. Timber supports hold the ground while brick tunnels are built. Steam trains run through gas-lit stations. The city gains a second level of movement below the surface. Now look at the city in use. Warehouse walls stretch for blocks, broken only by numbered doors. Inside, barrels roll in lines. Outside, carts queue for entry. Along Wapping and Shadwell, ropes, chains, and small boats crowd the river edge. Smoke hangs low over the streets. Brick housing rows press together. Windows stay shut to keep out soot. Construction is constant. Navies dig. Bricklayers work in shifts. Pumps thud in basements. Gas lamps light tunnels and streets. Noise replaces silence. Schedules replace chance. London no longer grows by spreading outward alone. It grows by stacking systems. Docks manage goods. Sewers manage waste. Rail manages people. The city becomes a machine held together by brick iron and constant motion. 9. Becoming modern London, rebuilt for speed and control. Step into London after the war. This is where the city turns modern by force. Between 1940 and 1941, bombing breaks large parts of London apart. When the war ends, those gaps stay. Streets are wider, blocks are gone. What had been tight and irregular now opens into clear ground. This gives planners space the city never had before. Rebuilding starts with housing and movement. Old terraces are cleared. New estates rise in concrete and brick built fast and in large numbers. Buildings grow taller. Blocks repeat. Space is planned in units, not plots. Roads are straightened. Traffic is separated from living areas. Pedestrians are lifted onto walkways or pushed away from fast roads. The underground becomes the spine of daily life. Stations damaged in the war are repaired and expanded. New signage, lighting, and platforms standardize movement. Trains run deeper, faster, and more often. The city learns to move underground as a routine, not an emergency. Modern London also reorganizes work. Docks that once handled ships are rebuilt or replaced, some close entirely. Container shipping moves downriver. Old warehouses stand empty, then are cleared. Offices take their place. Glass, steel, and concrete replace brick sheds and cranes. Architecture changes how people behave. Wide pavements reduce crowding. Clear sightlines improve control. Public space becomes designed, not accidental. Lighting improves. Surveillance becomes part of planning, not reaction. Crime shifts away from main routes and into leftover spaces under bridges, behind service roads, inside unfinished zones. Projects like the Barbican, built from 1965, show the new logic clearly. Housing, culture, and movement are stacked into one system. Cars move below. People move above. Services are hidden. Noise is managed. The city becomes layered. Daily life reflects this shift. Commuters follow schedules. Elevators replace stairs. Buses and trains replace carts. Deliveries arrive by timetable. Waste moves through sealed systems. The street is no longer a workshop. It is a channel. By the late 20th century, London looks clean, controlled, and technical. Its systems are visible in concrete rail and glass. The city no longer grows by accident. It grows by plan. 10 London Today, Speed Systems and Constant Motion 2026. Fast forward to the present. London in 2026 moves fast, wide, and almost without pause. The city no longer crowds into itself. It spreads through systems built for speed. Trains arrive every few minutes. Gates open and close in steady rhythm. Screens update faster than people look up. Underground stations are bright and deep. Platforms are long and clean. Escalators pull crowds upward in waves. Commuters walk with purpose, eyes forward, phones in hand. Some listen to audio. Some read messages. Most keep moving. Delays are measured in minutes, not hours, and impatience replaces panic. Above ground, the streets are busy but ordered. Buses slide into lanes marked by paint and cameras. Cyclists move through protected routes. Delivery riders weave between junctions. Crossings count down in seconds. People time their steps to the lights without thinking. Glass towers rise over older streets. Offices open early and close late. Security gates scan badges. Lifts move in silence. Inside, workers focus on screen schedules and targets. Outside, cafes fill quickly, empty, then fill again. Everything runs on slots of time. Along the river, walkways stay open and clear. The Thames is calm, contained by barriers and embankments designed for risk that no longer feels urgent. Maintenance crews inspect, log, and move on. The danger is planned for, not feared. Housing blocks stack upward. Balconies hold plants. Bikes, storage boxes. Lights switch on room by room at dusk. People return home tired, distracted, already thinking about the next day. Problems exist, rent costs time, but they are private and managed quietly. High streets change often. One shop closes, another opens. Signs switch. Interiors refit overnight. Foot traffic adjusts without comment. Surveillance cameras watch steadily. Lighting stays bright. Streets feel active even late. This London is busy, not desperate. People rush because they choose to not, because they must survive the day. The city no longer breaks under pressure. It absorbs it. After centuries of collapse, fire, disease, and rebuilding, London now runs on convenience, routine, and constant motion. The struggle is still there, but it is no longer written into the streets.
London did not become this city by accident.
Every layer you've seen, ruins, walls, bridges, bricks, rails, concrete and glass, was built to solve pressure. Each era left systems behind, and the next one stacked on top. That is London's real strength.
If you enjoyed this full reconstruction, let us know which era surprised you most and what city you want to see next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.